What is going on, everybody? I want to talk about the biggest problem with every UFC champion today, starting with Joshua Van and moving all the way up to Tom Aspinall. Joshua Van, you know, I think the biggest problem with him right now is the fact that his win over Alexandre Pantoja was completely and utterly illegitimate. And you can argue, yeah, that he dumped off Pantoja, leading to his elbow getting dislocated and leading to his win. And I'll give you that. He did do that. However, it is still seen by everyone with half a brain that the fact that it was illegitimate, it wasn't a real win. The fact that he didn't win Fighter of the Year last year just shows that. Because if he would have gone out there and beaten Pantoja in any way other than the way he did, he would have won Fighter of the Year. Easily won Fighter of the Year. Because he went from either being completely unranked or like 14th or 15th ranked to being the champion within 1 year. And don't get me wrong, he had a fantastic year. It's just the ending of it, like I said, it was illegitimate. He didn't get a proper win over Alexandre Pantoja, and in my mind, he's an illegitimate champ until he either beats Pantoja in a rematch or just beats someone in general. But really, the big thing is going to be to properly beat Pantoja in a rematch, which I don't think he does. I think Pantoja certainly would beat him. I think he was going to beat him the first time. I think the second time, I think he would beat him as well. I think Joshua Van's very good. He's still super young. Pantoja's a different breed, though. So I just think that's really the biggest problem with Joshua Van right now. Other than that, he's fantastic. He's got a bit of star power. He's obviously extremely fun to watch. But that's just that one little thing that I'm going to nitpick on. Talking about star power, Petr Yan. He is nearly perfect. No controversies, insanely skilled, it's insanely fun to watch, everything, all these things. But the one thing is he lacks star power for whatever reason. I don't know exactly what it is, because you can't say that it's that he doesn't speak English, because then we have guys like Charles Oliveira who don't speak like any English, or they understand it or whatever, but they don't speak it, and they're still stars. Yet he just doesn't ever seem to be that kind of star. Maybe it's because lack of social media engagement, all that sort of things. Marab at that weight class was quite a bit of a star. I don't know. I think that's Petr Yan's biggest problem. I think he's damn near a perfect fighter. He's so skilled everywhere. It's quite insane. He has the best striking in the UFC easily, in my opinion. But I just think for whatever reason he struggles with gaining that star power that other guys around him in the divisions really do have. Like a guy like Alexander Volkanovski, who I do think has quite a bit of star power, especially obviously in Australia, but even people in America, whatever. He's one of the most likable people or fighters in the entire UFC of all time. Even the biggest problem with him is, yes, he's old, but he's beating these younger contenders as well, like in beating Diego Lopez twice. It causes quite a problem in the division. It backs things up by, beating Diego Lopez the first time, not defending for a little bit, and then defending again against Diego Lopez. It kind of stalls the division out quite a bit, and he's old. And if he beats more of these young guys, it's tough for them to get back to the title, get in a title fight again once he retires. Like, think about if Alexander Volkanovski beats Mavzar, for example, and then retires, right? And Diego Lopez gets a win after that. Diego Lopez would arguably be deserving for another title shot, because he's beaten, pretty much everyone else he's fought except for Alexander Volkanovski, but he's already had 2 title fights where he's lost. So I think it's a problem for the division more so than even him. Just kind of, the fact that he's going to retire soon, it'll hold up the division. But yeah, love Volk, of course. Ilia Topuria, kind of another similar sort of thing, but different at the same time, is that every time we get someone like, oh, he's gonna fight Ilia Topuria, everyone's like, oh, Gaethje has 0 chance against him. They're like, Charles Oliveira has 0 chance, Max Holloway has 0. All these people have 0 chance. So they're shitting on these fights that in my opinion are great fights, super super big fights. I think Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje is a giant fight and super intriguing in a way. Of course, I do think Ilia Topuria will beat him. I say that pretty confidently, though I do like Justin Gaethje a lot. And it doesn't seem like the UFC wants to make Arman versus Ilia, which I do think would be the toughest fight, yet at the same time, I think Ilia Topuria smokes him. I think he chins him quick. You know, yeah. The biggest problem is that he's been so damn good. There really isn't a contender where it's like, oh, that's a tough fight for him. I guess you kind of have a similar thing in Islam Makhachev at 170. But I think the biggest problem with Islam Makhachev is, once again, kind of not really a problem with him, but more so, well, it is partially a problem with him. He's active, but not super active. He fights 1 to 2 times a year, which is fine. And, I'm not going to complain about it per se. He's not the most inactive person. But 170 has so many contenders that are arguably deserving of title shots. You have, Shavkat if he was healthy. You have Ian Gary. You have Kamaru Usman maybe. You have, Michael Morales, also very deserving. So you have at least three or four guys who are super deserving, and Islam doesn't even have a fight booked yet. He has nothing coming up real soon. I don't think that it's really great for the division, for a division to be stalled this much. And a lot of these top guys, I will say, in the 170, I do respect because they are fighting, even though they probably already were arguably deserving for a title fight. Like Ian Gary arguably could have been deserving for a title fight after that Carlos Prates win, and he goes out there and beats Bilal. I think Ian Gary, in my personal opinion, is the most deserving for a title shot due to his inactivity and as well who he's beaten. His only loss is to Shavkat, who, he obviously took that fight on a little bit short notice, barely lost, and has had 2 extremely good wins since then, beating Carlos Prates and beating Bilal, both pretty dominantly. And Carlos Prates he beat on very short notice and dominated him. And we've seen how good Carlos Prates is with him knocking out Leon Edwards a couple months later. So I think that's the biggest problem with Islam, is that he's not active enough to fight all the contenders that are deserving of title fights here. And then we have the most inactive champ, and it's not even close, Khamzat Chimaev. It's genuinely infuriating, right? Like, I understand the fact that he is really good, and I don't like him. I'm not a fan. You guys know this. He's probably one of my least favorite fighters in the UFC, and I'll give it to him that he's very good. But we don't even have to get to see him fight because he doesn't fight. He fights once a year, maximum. He defended got the belt August? He got the belt in August last year, and we haven't heard a peep about him fighting since. Nothing. Just him talking shit to people, like, I'll smash you, like, just causing problems. We haven't heard a peep about him fighting since then, not even a little bit. And I'll probably talk about this in its own video, but it only means so much to have the best guy as a champion if he doesn't fight. Yeah, you can be the champion, you can have the belt, but you're not showing off how good you are if you only fight once a year, if even then. I would bet, like I said, right after Khamzat Chimaev won that belt, I said, just wait. He won't fight again until October 2026. That's my guess. November 2026. Over almost a year and 2-3 months, he won't fight for, because he just doesn't fight. And it only matters, like I said, so much that you're the best. Oh, he's the best. He doesn't fight. So what does it matter if you're the best if you don't fight? I'd rather have someone else who's not as good per se as champion if they're gonna actually fight. Like, I'm here to watch the sport. I'm here to watch the best of the sport. Maybe he is the best of the division, but we can't even see him get tested by guys like Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, Nasruddin Imavov. We can't see him fight Sean Strickland. We can't see all these fights. And people can be like, oh, he'll smash him. Like, maybe if he's gonna make it look so easy, then fight them. Like, in my opinion, there's no reason he can't turn around and defend 2 or 3 months later after the Dricus du Plessis fight. He didn't take any damage in that fight. Like, if you fight and you take no damage, turn around and fight again. I'm not saying you need to fight next week, but make it quick. You don't need to take a year or more to fight. It's genuinely, it's infuriating as someone who wants to watch the sport. But moving on, Alex Pereira. I guess kind of a similar thing with Alexander Volkanovski. He doesn't have too many fights I would imagine, and he's beating all these guys who are up and comers. I guess it's not really a knock on him, but I couldn't really find much else wrong with him, to be honest. He's great. You know, it loses to Ankalaev and comes out there and just smokes him the second one. I genuinely have no bones to pick with Alex Pereira. He's active. He comes in on short notice and saves cards. I hope we get fight news for him soon. Maybe even at heavyweight. With the problem with Tom Aspinall. And I guess it's kind of not really his fault, but seems like he's really injured. He has problems seeing. And supposedly that he might not fight again. So that's big. I mean, you know, if he's able to fight again, you know, I would hope we'd learn sooner than later. Maybe we could get an interim title fight between a Cyril Gane and Alex Pereira. But it's not one of those things, like, it's not his fault. It's unfortunate what's happening, but it's holding up the division at the same time. An already crappy division that has not much going on, and then you don't even get a couple of the best fighters in the division, guys like Cyril Gane and Tom Aspinall. You don't even get to see them fight because Tom Aspinall is injured now. I guess it's not really his fault, but yeah. Appreciate you guys watching. Let me know if I missed on any things that you guys think might be a problem with one of you guys. You know, I think there's a lot of great things about all the champs. I'm pretty happy with the championship roster we have right now with each guy that's holds the belt. But hopefully we see some new fighters get belts in this year. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys could subscribe and like the video. And yeah, peace.